Hello, friends. Let's see. Can someone text me to tell me if this is working? My the internet was giving me troubles. Let's see what happens if I go to our Facebook page. Will it show that I am live right now? I don't know why, but it wouldn't let me go live from my web browser. Okay, great. So this is going to be a little weird because I will have to monitor chat. Okay, great. Ooh. Okay. So I have to monitor chat on the computer while using my phone. Thank you, Facebook. Okay. So the reason you guys didn't see the beginning was because why it wasn't live is because I went on my personal page again and Facebook was not cooperating when I tried to switch over. So I am now streaming from my phone, which looks really strange because I need to look at the camera, not at my phone. So we're going to put that there centered. And yeah, so, but then when I tried to do it on on the web browser, on the church page, it wouldn't let me do it. It kept giving me error. So we're going to start. I had started reading some pretty terrible dad jokes. So we're going to go back, and Brandy and Allison are going to have to hear them again, which they might die and not from laughter. But here we go. And the reason I'm doing this is because last week I noticed a few people kind of straggled in, and so I figured we could just do something fun to let people just ease in. So, and I had a professor in college that would read bad jokes at the beginning of class. So, want to hear a joke about a piece of paper? Never mind, it's terrible. That's so bad. If you see a robbery at an Apple store, does that make you an eyewitness? A ham sandwich walks into a bar and orders a beer. The bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve food here." Yeah. Okay. And the crescendo. What's Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest One. One Forrest One. That's terrible. That is so terrible. Okay, so now that we've gotten those terrible jokes out of the way, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're on the last week of our Don't Waste Your W's that I had come up with. So this week is Don't Waste Your Witness. Don't waste your witness. And really, I just want us to reflect upon the idea of what's the witness we're giving now, but also what is the witness that we're going to be giving and having the opportunity to have when this is all said and done. How are we going to witness in the midst of this situation, and how are we going to share our witness, our testimony, what God is doing after this is all over? And really, the passage I want us to reflect upon is actually, it's found in 3 of the 4 Gospels. It's found in the Synoptic Gospels, which just kind of means the same. And so they're found in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And it says in Matthew's Gospel, he uses his first name. He says Matthew. In Mark's Gospel and in Luke's Gospel, he uses the name of Levi. Levi is probably his Jewish name, and Matthew is probably his Gentile name. It wouldn't be odd for someone to have 2 different names. One that they use in circumstances with Gentiles, and one with their religious community. So we're going to read from Luke's Gospel, and this is Luke 5:27. It's also found in Matthew chapter 9 and Mark chapter 2, I think is what the references were. Hold on. Yeah, so Matthew 9:9-17, and Mark 2:14-22. So here's what it says about Levi, or Matthew. And it says, "After this, he went out and saw a tax collector," he being Jesus, a tax collector named Levi, sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And leaving everything, he rose and followed him, being Jesus. So Matthew is doing his job. He's collecting money. He would not be an enjoyable person to be around according to society. And so it's his job to just take people's money for the government, which is not something that most people are not fond of. And especially in an occupying situation, you're even less fond of. And Jesus Jesus does not stumble across anyone, but Jesus comes across Matthew, and Jesus calls Matthew to follow him. And Levi, Matthew, made him a great feast in his house, and there was a large company of tax collectors and others reclining at table with him. And the Pharisees and their scribes grumbled at his disciples, saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" And Jesus answered them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." So after Jesus calls Matthew decides to throw Jesus a big party so all his friends can meet him. Jesus then interacts with these people who are not considered socially acceptable for a rabbi to be spending time with. According to the religious leaders and the religious elites, Jesus shouldn't be with these people. He should be spending time with the religious elites. He should be spending time with the religiously clean from their perspective. But Jesus is saying that the reason he's come is to help those who actually need help. Now, in reality, what the Pharisees don't see is that they need help. But Jesus understands that. Jesus understands that they need help. And so what does Jesus do? He interacts with these people. But what I want us to see is what Matthew does. What does Matthew do when he encounters Jesus? When he follows Jesus and he starts pursuing him, what does he do? He throws a party. This kind of seems like a strange thing to do. But it's not when you think about it, because it allows us this opportunity to introduce other people to Jesus. And this is really what I want us to encourage to think about, because, friends, we're going to have a time where we're going to be able to get together again. I know here in Washington, it feels like it's never going to happen ever again, because we just keep kicking the can down the road. But there is going to come a day where we will be able to gather again in maybe groups of 10 or groups of 50 or groups of 100. We are going to be able to get together again. We may have to wear masks. We may have to have distance between us, but we're going to be able to have people in the same place together. And I want to encourage each of you, as you are waiting in this time, to be using your witness now, but also be preparing to use your witness down the road. I want you to think about the people that you could be praying for right now. Who can you be praying for that they would have an opportunity to come to know the Lord? Who would you be praying for that you can have an opportunity to share with? Who would you be praying for that would maybe respond to an invitation when you give it to them? In addition to that, I want you to think about, what are you sharing on Facebook? What are you posting on Twitter? When you have coworkers and friends, what are they seeing that you are putting out there? Are they seeing things that are pointing them to the Lord, or things that are pointing them away from the Lord? Sometimes you can have people come to mind. You watch a video, you hear a song, you read a scripture verse, and then someone comes to mind with that verse, with that passage, with that song. Why not share it with that person as a way of encouraging them, pointing them to the Lord? But more importantly, friends, in addition to sharing content online, because that's about all we can do right now, other than praying for our neighbors, another thing we can do in this midst of waiting is we can actually ask our neighbors how we can be praying for them. If you see your neighbor out, maybe they're pulling the trash can out, and you see them and you make eye contact and you say hello, You can say, hey, is there anything I can be praying for you for right now? That's an opportunity to present to them what God is doing. An opportunity to allow you to share your faith in a small way. But where I really want us to focus on today is this idea of what Matthew did when he encountered Jesus. He invited people to a party. When this is all said and done, I want to encourage you to consider having a party. Consider having a party that you invite your neighbors to. Now, at that party, at that time, you don't need to throw your faith in their face. But you can let your faith be evident to them. You can tell them about maybe the things just in your conversations. You can say, hey, what really sustained you during this time? What did you spend your time doing? Have conversations that naturally lead to you sharing about your faith. But you can also, in that time, when you're having this party, before you're going to eat, you can say, hey, our family makes it a habit to pray before meals. Would you mind if we prayed and thanked God for this meal? And then you can pray. And you can thank Jesus for what he did for us on the cross. You can thank Jesus for what he did in sustaining us in this time. You can, in a way, share the gospel with others while you're praying. They're sitting there and they're listening to what you're thanking God for. What are you thanking God for? Is it merely for this food, or is it for the things that he did beyond that? Are you thanking God for the healing he brings, or are you is it surface level, or is it pointing them to Jesus in a deeper way? You can also do things like sing songs. What would it look like for you to have a party in your backyard, and you invite some Christian friends over and you decide to sing songs? Hopefully you don't do it at 10 p.m. at night, but if you have a bonfire and you sit around the bonfire and you sing some songs, what do your neighbors hear? They hear praises to God. So I want you to think about ways you can, as you're fostering relationships with your neighbors after all of this, because really we're going to have a great opportunity to interact with our neighbors in a newfound way, because they're going to want to see people. They're going to want to do things with people. And I have someone who's going to be not maintaining social distancing while I'm Facebook Living. Say hi.
Hello. Who am I talking to?
Everyone watching.
Who's that?
Jill, Kirsten,
Very
Eric
good.
Burrows, Krista Stamper.
What you up to?
We're talking about not wasting our witness.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So have fun.
I was just
Okay. She didn't know I was doing this. So I warned one person, but I didn't warn everyone. So So yeah. So where were we? I totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So throw a party, invite people over, hang out with them, and tell them about Jesus when you can. Jill Wilson says hi, Cindy. And my mom's watching. Yeah, she likes to come and support me. Okay, that's all. Anyone got anything? Questions, thoughts? Okay. I hope you all have a good week. I hope you stay safe. Stay home. Lord willing, these things will change quickly, and we will be able to gather again in groups. Who knows what size those groups will be, but hopefully we will get to do them soon. I would encourage you to be praying for specific people and ask the Lord whose life he is already at work in, and say, God, if I have the opportunity to invite 10 people over, which 10 people should I invite? And see what the Lord does. Maybe invite a few Christians and a few non-Christian neighbors or coworkers or friends, just as an opportunity to Introduce them to Jesus, like Matthew did with his buddies. And it doesn't matter what type of buddies you have if you're striving to introduce them to Jesus. Okay, love you, friends. We'll talk to you soon. See you later.